Hey, welcome back to the House of Trauma podcast. I am your favorite host, Kiana Brienne. Now let's get into it. Today, I want to talk about losing a parent. So, for those of you who don't know, I lost my dad January 1st, 2019. He was killed in a drunk driving accident, and it has affected me and my family tremendously in the past few years. But before I get into that and how it has affected me and my family, I want to first address who my dad was, who he was to me. I don't think it's fair for me to talk about life after his death without first letting you know who he was as a living, breathing human, as a father to me and my siblings. So, me and my dad always just had a special bond. I like to say I'm the favorite, but that's what my mom and my dad like. I just like to say I'm the favorite because that's how I feel. But let me tell you something. My dad always called me baby girl, and I wasn't the firstborn and I wasn't the lastborn, okay? But he refused to call any of his other daughters baby girl. As a matter of fact, my youngest sister was born like in 2007-ish. Don't quote me on that, but I believe it was 2007 or 2006, but I think 2007. Anywho, my stepmom, who is her mother, would always call her baby girl. And I just remember one day my dad was just like, absolutely not. You can call her baby girl if that's what you choose to do. But I have my baby girl and I refuse to call anybody else baby girl. And like he stood firm on that. He wouldn't allow anybody else to do it. And me, I wouldn't allow anybody else to call me baby girl. Like, ladies, just a side note, have you ever been approached by a man and he addressed you as baby girl? That makes me uncomfortable. So I always have to let them know straight up, only my daddy calls me baby girl. Now, my name's Kiana and we can move forward. So anywho, I was his baby girl and we had a special bond, like I'm sure. Well, not sure, but like I feel all fathers and daughters should, and I can't speak for my other sisters, but me and my dad, we was tight. Like we was tight. That was my homie for sure. And he taught me a lot of life lessons that I still hold true to me today, that still get me through everyday life and help me progress further as a strong, independent Black woman. One of the main things that he taught me was like not to ever sit your purse on the floor. And we all know the superstition behind that. You sit your purse on the floor, you're going to be broke when you grow up. That's just what it was. Now, it don't necessarily mean that. It kind of still mean that. But even to this day, even seeing other people's purses on the floor makes me slightly uncomfortable because, like, girl, what are you doing? You don't care about your finances? I'm uncomfortable. Another thing he told me is to always carry money, like at least $10 minimum. And I remember him giving me and my sister, Tiana, a $10 bill. And he was like, put this in your wallet and I'm going to randomly check periodically and y'all better always have this $10. And he did that. He did just that. And every time he checked, but bam, I got my $10. He just like, you never know. Like, don't ever spend your last. You never know when you're going to need something. It could be an emergency. It could be this, is that. You might need to get somewhere, whatever. It was a lot behind why he felt like we should keep at least $10 in our purse. In today's economy, it's more like $100, but y'all get where I'm going with this. He taught me about color matching, like my clothes. Like he would literally take us school shopping and be like, look at the thread used in these jeans. It's light thread, which means you need a light shirt. Do not wear a dark shirt with these jeans, or if the thread is dark, vice versa. You need a dark shirt. Do not wear a light shirt with these jeans. And I remember thinking like, excuse me? Is it that deep? It was that deep. And like I said, he's taught me so many things during his lifetime. Those are just like a few things that really stuck out and I still hold to this day. And I'm 28 years old. So these are things he's teaching me in middle school and high school and things like that. Anywho, so yeah, just an amazing man is what I want y'all to know before we move forward. my dad was killed in a drunk driving accident on January 1st, 2019. And I personally remember that day like it was yesterday. I mean, it was only 3 years ago, a little over 3 years ago, but still, I had a phone call around 7 something in the morning, maybe even closer to 8, but I believe it was still 7. And it was coming from my stepmom's phone. And I remember ignoring the first call because, I mean, it was New Year's Day. Of course, we went out last night. Like, I was like, oh, I'll just, I'll talk to her later. And then it came in again. And I was like, okay, I'll talk to you later. But I always say rule of 3. If you call me 3 times, I know it's an emergency. That third time, I'm like, what is really going on? Hello. It wasn't my stepmom. It was my brother. And my brother, Karan, unfortunately had to break the news to me that my dad was killed in a car accident. And I'm not going to tell you what he said verbatim, but he had to unfortunately break that news to me. And I didn't think about it in the moment, but after a while, I was like, that had to be a pretty awful call he had to make. And I just remember after he hung up the phone, and even before he hung up the phone, I was just screaming. I was in a state of shock, anger, sadness, disbelief, because I couldn't believe this was my reality. This was just a bad dream. This was just a really bad dream. Only it wasn't a bad dream. And I dreamt. I had a dream about my dad that night prior to this day when I got home. And it was a good dream. And so the fact that I was getting this phone call, I'm like, there's no way. There's no way. I was just talking to my dad. Oh, wait, no, that was a dream. It was just very, it was very surreal. I was like, no, they made a mistake, is what I know. They made a mistake. It was a car accident. People survive car accidents all the time. I've seen it happen. I've been in car accidents. Like, there's no way this is my reality right now. And I later reached out to my sister and my mom. I had to make that phone call to my mom, which was devastating for me and very hard, may I add. But then we later found out that it wasn't just an unfortunate, tragic car accident. He was actually killed by a drunk driver. Yeah. And I'm just even more in a state of disbelief because what are the odds? And people always say, oh, you never think it's going to happen to you. You never think it's going to happen to you. No, you don't. You don't. I didn't. We didn't. Nobody would have ever in a million years thought that this was how my dad's life would have ended. Or any of ours. Like, I just, no. I'm like, this cannot even be real. But I got something to say. It was real. It was realer than real. And I just remember almost feeling like a zombie all day. I didn't even feel like I was living real life. Like, everything around me was just kind of moving, but it's like I was just sitting there. You ever see those movies where it's like, maybe like traffic is moving real fast and somebody's just kind of standing around? Like, that's how it was. I felt like everything around me was moving and my entire existence was at a standstill. So like I mentioned before, we later found out that it was actually a drunk driver. So now I'm even more mad. Once I came to reality and was like, okay, this is real. Who is this person? How did this happen? What is this about? It's New Year's Day. This is a brand new year and this is what we're walking into. Okay. So we later found out that it was a woman who killed him, a woman by the name of Elizabeth Stratton. Who we also later found out had an open container of alcohol in the car as well at the scene of the crime. Completely 110% negligent. It was just unacceptable. And my entire family at this moment, we're grieving, and we're grieving heavy because no one would have ever expected this. And let me actually back it up a bit. It's New Year's Day. My dad is on his way to work. This happened at 6:40 in the morning. Because mind you, I said I got this call at 7-something in the morning from my brother. So imagine this. A good man, an honest man on his way to work to provide for his family, and he's killed due to the negligence of a drunk driver. That's our reality. That's the pill we got to swallow every day. I want to make that point very clear. That is the pill we have to swallow every day. And then to add insult to injury, my dad was off that day, and he wanted to get out overtime again to take care of his family. And people say sometimes you're just in the wrong place at the wrong time. I'm a strong believer in everything happening for a reason. But this appears to have no reason. No clear reason and understanding. So we'll go back to Elizabeth, the murderer. She actually bailed or bonded out the very next day. Spent less than 24 hours in jail. And to this day, and it is actually, I'll give you the exact date. She bonded out on January 2nd, 2019. It is August 26, 2022. And she has been roaming freely, free to live life this entire time. Okay? And I think that's where my anger and my frustration comes in. And to find out she not only has a history of drunk driving, but has zero remorse for the life she's taken, zero accountability. It's like a slap in the face to my family and I, to have zero remorse, to have zero accountability when you her negligence took somebody's life, and she refuses to acknowledge that. So here's the thing. I now live in Dallas, Texas. Okay. At that time, I lived in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. But I spent a few years, my dad moved to Arlington when I was in 6th grade. And I spent a few years in the beginning of my high school career in Texas. And I went to Mansfield High School. So we had this thing called every 15 minutes, right? And with every 15 minutes, it was basically an anti-drinking and driving program called Every 15 Minutes. And it's based around the statistic that every 15 minutes, someone is injured or killed in a drunk driving car accident. So I've always felt like the state of Texas took this very seriously, so much so to the point we had a program in high school surrounded behind this. And actually, when I was a junior in high school, I asked my father's permission to participate in this program, and he gave me that. Unfortunately, I didn't get to finish out the program because I ended up moving back to Milwaukee, but that's another story for another day. So Elizabeth is being charged with intoxication manslaughter, which carries a minimum of 2 years and a maximum of 20 years. I feel like I guess it's just hard for me to kind of wrap my head around a state that takes something like this so seriously, to let a woman bond out so easily and to not be put back behind bars, even though 3 years have passed and we are still waiting for her day in court. Now, I just want to tell y'all a quick story. I'm going to get off her for a moment because I really want to go into, now that we know how my dad died and who the monster was that took his life, I really want y'all to understand the severity and the impact that one person's decision had on an entire group of people. I want y'all to understand the severity of how one bad action can affect so many other people. When I found out my dad died, I used to literally pray to God to take me too. And I've never openly shared this with anyone before today. I used to beg God to take me too, because I didn't want to do this thing all life without him. And if you've ever lost a parent, then you know exactly how I feel. And even now, it has taken only the strength of God for me to even get this off my chest. So, I don't want you to think I was suicidal in a sense. I've never attempted to take my own life. But again, I just didn't want to do life without him. And I was just like, this is how you was going to take him. Just take me the same way. At this point, like, why not? I just used to cry myself to sleep every night, and I felt so lost, so confused. But it was also hard to sleep because every time I closed my eyes, I would dream about my dad. I remember one dream in particular. I was like, Dad, oh my God. They told me you died. They told me you were killed in a car accident. And he was like, what? Oh no. He like, oh no, baby girl. I'm still alive. Can't nothing ever take out your daddy. And that was so him. Like that's so how he would speak. And it just seemed so real. And I remember having that dream and waking up out of my sleep, literally crying and screaming and just feeling so alone, feeling so sad, but also so angry because I wanted to know why. Why I never got a chance to say goodbye. Why I never had the opportunity to prepare myself for anything like this. I was only 25. That's still young. Like, I wasn't married. I don't have kids. And when I do have kids, they'll never be able to know my dad the way I did. They'll never be able to know their grandfather outside of pictures and what I tell them. It is devastating. It is so devastating. Still to this day, still as we sit, as we wait for justice to be served. Again, it's a very hard pill to swallow. And I remember just being all around angry with the world. And not because the world did this. This was the action of one individual. But I guess because I couldn't understand the why, and I still don't. But it was very hard for me to wrap my head around. I felt like nothing made sense anymore. And then we're leading into 2020, where everybody, we're fighting. It's Black Lives Matter. We're fighting for justice. All these innocent people are being killed. And I made a statement. I said, I can't fight for justice for anybody until my family gets justice for my father. And that is just real and true. And I honestly don't care how anybody feels about it. No, I don't believe any innocent Black life should be taken unjustly. But the main Black life that mattered to me, that was taken unjustly, we've been fighting for 3 years now for justice to be served. So I'm still angry with the world. And I still pray every night. And I still ask God to heal my heart center. I still ask God to help this woman live with her mistakes. Because she will have to live with blood on her hands for the rest of her life. I just remember going into like a very deep depression, like a very depressive state. And so here's the thing with me. Unlike, I guess, some people, everybody handles grief and depression and turmoil differently. But here's the thing with me. Anytime something really bad is going on and it's affecting me mentally and emotionally, I don't like to use vices. I don't like to drink. I don't like to smoke. Like, I like to feel my emotions fully with a clear mind, right? And so the fact that my dad was killed by a drunk driver, I didn't even want to look at a drink. I remember people offering me drinks, and I'm just like, please get away from me. Please, 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 before I lose my shit. Okay, seriously. But then we end up obviously coming down to Texas for the funeral and like dealing with that. But when I got back home, it was like it did a 360, a 180. It did a 180. Math ain't my strong point. Let's just count money. But it completely did a 180. I indulged in drugs and alcohol to no end, because I had to try to cope with life and cope through this. And I had to get back to real life, no matter how much I didn't want to. But I actually, side note, I kind of didn't mind going to work some days because I didn't want to be in a house alone. I didn't live alone at the time. I lived with my ex-fiance, but he obviously was still going to work. And when he would leave me at home alone, sometimes I would even hear my dad's voice. I remember being in the shower one day, and I could hear my dad calling my name. And I'm like, what is this about? And I'm just like, I can't do this. I need to be surrounded by noise because the silence is too loud. And I don't know if y'all get what I'm saying. The silence was too loud. I had to get out of there. But I remember drinking all the time and not getting like hella drunk, because to this day I really still don't like to drink like that. Now, Kiana before 25, we throwing shots back. I had a series on Snapchat, Chase Your Liquor with Liquor. I think we went through part 1 through maybe like 20. Anytime we was going out, it was the Chase Your Liquor with Liquor saga, and we would just see where the night go. And I was out of control. Like, I will party to get drunk, and now I'll drink, but I ain't getting drunk. And I don't even drink like that anymore. But at that point in time, I definitely smoked weed. And just to be completely transparent, ain't no shame in my game. Most people know this about me anyway. But my smoking habits picked up. I mean, it got real bad. I was codependent on weed. Real codependent on weed. But it wasn't the only drug. And again, I'm here to be completely and 100% transparent with y'all. I developed a cocaine habit. Had I done it before for fun, like to party? Yeah, I had. But when I was doing it this time, it wasn't to have fun, and it wasn't to party, and it wasn't just like, oh yeah, why not? It's here, let's do it. I was going out of my way to buy it. And I was doing it every day for almost a month. And then I literally had to come to my senses and be like, Kiana, you cannot do this. But I'm sharing this with y'all to show y'all the effects of life happening and how it can correlate to drug abuse and alcohol abuse. But I had God's hand over me. And he's like, my child, this is not for you. What are you doing? I spent so much money, so much time trying to not live this reality that it could have potentially ruined my life. And I'm just glad that the bad habit I picked up did not become a full-blown addiction, because it could have. And that also is something I've never shared out loud. Weed, on the other hand, I continued to smoke for years. Actually, just stopped smoking weed this month. And I'm planning to do it for good. So there's that. But, yeah, y'all, it's a lot. It's heavy. Now, still. Because we have still not received justice. And even after justice is served, because it will be served, God has the final say. This is still my reality and my family's reality. I lost my father. An amazing father to me, who had always been there for me. I don't remember a point in my life where he wasn't there for me. And I can't believe so much time has passed and he's not here. And in that first year really was the hardest, because I refused to accept it. And me and my dad, like I said, we always had a bond. And so whenever there was something good, something bad, something exciting, where I needed advice, I'm picking up the phone and I'm calling my dad. Dad, check this out. I need your advice. Dad, hey, you won't believe this just happened today. I'm so excited. Dad, oh my God, I'm so mad. It's so many times after he died, I picked up my phone to make that call. And then reality hit me that he wasn't going to answer. And I still got my daddy number saved in my phone to this day. And I'll never erase it. He just meant so much to me. And it's hard. And with no resolve, how can we even begin to start the healing process if we still have this court day hanging over our head? We still have this woman walking free, because it's almost like you kill somebody and you got away with it. And that don't sit right in my spirit. And that's another reason I'm so angry with the world. But I just have to trust in God. God has never let me down. He's never let me down. And He will ensure may me and my family eventually get the peace we deserve. No, life will never be the same. And no, it'll never truly be okay. I will forever be missing half of me. But the day this woman is sentenced will be the first step to properly heal, because I haven't healed a bit. I'm not even gonna lie. I don't even know where to begin, because it's like every time I try to start the healing process, I remember she's free, right? But not just that. Maybe we hear something else about a court case, or it's a court date, or it's this and it's that. And me and my family deserve justice. We deserve peace. More importantly, we deserve for him still to be here. But no use in crying over spilled milk. Because that part is something we can't change. But what we can change is her spending the rest of her life behind bars for taking somebody else's life. The Bible says in the book of Leviticus, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, a hand for a hand, a life for a life. And I think now, and I've always loved my parents, like, through thick and thin. Have they pissed me off? Absolutely. Have I pissed them off? Of course. You know what I mean? But I always loved them through and through. And I was always so happy to have them in my life. And now, in present day, I hold my mother so close to my heart. I'm always checking in on her, making sure she has everything she needs. I'm always making sure she understands just how much I love her. Because life is short. And people don't always die in the way you expect them to, which is old age or awful illness, right? And I just don't know when my mother will be ripped from my arms too. And quite frankly, I live in a constant state of anxiety at that very thought. If my mama don't answer the phone, I'm just like, Lord, please don't let this be bad. You know what I mean? Losing a parent literally reshapes your whole life. I lost my dad 3 years ago. And I'm still grieving to this day. I pray that anybody listening to this who has lost a parent, I pray that you find peace in your heart. I pray that you're able to cope with it in a healthy way. I pray that God covers you with his hand and he holds you tight throughout the entire process. Because I know firsthand how devastating something like that is. My name is Kiana Brienne, and this is the House of Trauma podcast.